So here we are with Bill, and he is going to talk to us about the fans on the Empyre and Cozeburn boilers.
This is a 1500 RPM fan. When you get a fan in the mail, this screen will be on here. This is used for several different model stoves. These 3 bolts will come off of here on your existing fan on your stove. This cover you will take off your old fan, and this screen comes off. This will bolt right in place, either for a front air or a rear air fan, because it's the same place. This does not go on a rear air fan. I'll take that back. The bigger plate on the rear air fan in back of the stove, this gasket goes on the stove, on the fan itself, and there's a big plate. The plate, it looks like this, only this hole isn't here, and there's a place for the solenoid on the top of this plate.
Okay.
And this plate opens and closes on the rear air fan. It opens up about 1 inch to 3/4 to 1 inch. When the fan is running, it closes down on this gasket, and the gasket helps seal the air off. It also deadens the sound when this drops, so you don't have this every time it closes.
Right.
So
okay.
that's why this is on here.
That's what the gasket is. Okay.
I can either send it with them. Most of the time, when I send out for rear air, I will glue this on, put silicone on this, and put it on, so it's in the box, ready to put on the stove.
Okay.
It's just simpler. The gasket doesn't get bent or broke in transportation when I've got it on the stove.
Okay.
So that's what I do.
Perfect.
This bolt's on the same way. On the front airs, there's 2 bolts, one on top, one on the bottom. You just take them off. The wires are all inside this box. Take them off. You wire it the same way. One wire goes to the solenoid, one wire goes to the hot, and the other one goes to the other hot wire. When you check yours, you check it, make sure you wire it the same way. There's just wire nuts in there. When you wire it together, put it back in here. There's a little clamp that goes, the wire goes in the side here, runs through there, and then you put this cover right back on, so you're good to go.
Okay.
10 minutes, you should be able to trade out a fan.
Super. That's quick. Quick and easy.
These are all 1500 RPM fans. For the newer style stoves, the Empyre stoves that are on the rear air stove, where the fan is attached directly to the bottom of the air tubes, that is a 1500 RPM fan. The older stoves, I think around the 2000, before 2004, the fan actually sat up in the air. Let's see, how did that set? Like this. And it attached to a plate, and then there's a tube, there's a 4-inch dryer vent that came down and hooked to the bottom of the air tubes. That fan is a 3000 RPM fan.
Oh, okay, on those older
Yep.
ones, 2004 and older.
Yeah, older, yep.
Okay.
This is a bushing motor. This is a 1500 bushing motor. We replaced the 3000 RPM fans on the older stoves with a bearing motor, because that's what the gasification units use.
Okay.
So instead of having 2 fans on hand, I keep them both. But the 3000 bushing motor is a few dollars cheaper than the bearing motor. The bearing motor, in turn, should last longer.
Okay.
Also, on this 1500 RPM fan, you can take a picture of this afterwards, there's actually 2 places. You tip that fan over these 2 little half-moon holes.
Okay.
You can drop 4 or 5 drops of gun oil or sewing machine oil, some fine oil that doesn't harden. No 3-in-1, no motor oil, nothing that gets hard. Over time, in age, it'll get hard, it'll stop the fans. This fan turns really easy in here. When you oil this, it'll prolong the use of the motor.
How often should you oil it?
At least once a year.
Once a year.
Yep.
Okay.
I do mine twice a year. It doesn't hurt. I usually do mine in the fall before it starts and midway through the season.
Okay.
I've had my original fan on my stove 17 years.
Wow.
I replaced most of the fans that people don't take care of them, 3 to 5.
Yeah. So that's why. If your fan is burning out, it's obviously because you're not properly maintaining it.
Part of it, also, it's the restrictions on the fan.
Okay.
because of these bushing motors, they tend to get too hot. If they're drawing too many amps because they're not turning right, it tends to wear them out because the motors get bad and the armatures get bad in them.
Okay.
But I always drop oil down in them. People, you've got to take them off to do it because this fan on the door sets like this.
Okay.
So you can't, when you look at it, the holes are backwards, so you can't really get any oil in them because the holes are on the side.
Okay.
So you have to take the bolts off, turn it up like this, put the oil in here, and then spin the fan.
Okay.
So that oil, because there's two little tubes in there, that oil's got to drain down into that bushing. There's a brass bushing in there. That's what the wheel, the squirrel cage runs on. So it's got to drip down in there. I just leave them off for a few minutes, let them slip down in there. You'll notice that as soon as you spin it, if it's dragging at all, as soon as you drop that oil in there, all of a sudden next time you spin it, it'll spin freer.
Okay.
That's what you want to do. They cost money, so take care of it as much as you can,
Absolutely.
you know.